everyone. I'm Josh Epstein. I'm the marketing specialist for the TDA Perks program. I want to welcome you today to this installment of our virtual new office symposium. Today's interview is going to be with Brandon Fauley. He's a vice president with Perks vendor Xite Realty. Xite provides a wide range of services for TDA members, including commercial real estate brokerage, project management services for building construction, as well as interior tenant finish shots. Brandon, welcome and thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing what a TDA member needs from a real estate perspective when starting or purchasing their own practice.
Yeah, Josh, appreciate you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for everybody that joined in. As Josh said, I'm the vice president for Xite. I sit in our Dallas office, which is our largest branch. We got offices across the state in Houston, Austin, San Antonio. We actually opened an office in Florida as well about 2 years ago. And so at the end of the day, I'm a commercial real estate broker, but I specialize in working with dentists. And this is the community that I've been involved in for 8+ years now. And so a lot of questions get posed to us over just really the last, 12 months since COVID started. We're coming up almost a year since COVID really kicked off. And there's a lot that goes into that. And people are a lot of times at different stages, and there's unique pieces and answers that come that get entwined with the real estate aspect of it a lot of times in the startup world. And so I'm going to try to hit a little bit of every category, and then you guys follow up with me. If you have questions, I'm happy to layer that in tailored to your unique situation. So on the associate side, a lot of guys got laid off this last year. Where it really hit us from a startup standpoint that we've seen in the community is, the banks typically underwrite the associates based off their associate income. And so now, thankfully, the banks as of this year have started back up. Bank of America, Wells Fargo never took a dip. But Bank of America opening back up, it really sort of re-energized, if you will, the startup marketing guys wanting to open a practice because from a lending standpoint, that's now basically a full send. And so also as an associate, one thing that I would highlight is it's important to do your homework. You need to work with a dental specific commercial real estate broker when it comes to the site selection component of opening a clinic. And we found this during this last 12 months, you saw a lot of offices that did not perform well because they were having to cut ties and they were cutting corners on expenses and things of that nature because they were in areas that were over competitive and they were cannibalized with competition. Instead of being in an area that's underserved, where there was a need for your services, where you had a healthy patient base, and we could ride through those tough times, they were really struggling. So working with a dental specific real estate broker is going to allow them to come in from a data standpoint and analyze communities to determine if that site or this list of sites are even in areas that make sense, right? You don't want to work with somebody that's going to send you a list of opportunities and say, hey, pick which one looks pretty. You want to look at the sites and we say, okay, on a list of 50 locations, these are the top 5 opportunities based off of data analysis. And so what does the competition ratio look like? What is the payer mix breakdown? Is it a PPO, fee for service office, or is it a 50% Medicaid, 50% PPO? We need to understand the community that we're going into, and we also need to understand what the competition metrics looks like before we sign anywhere on the dotted line. For doctors who have opened a clinic, we had several doctors last year that opened right at the time that sort of the hurricane of COVID came into effect. They did very well. But the important part of that is we had a relationship with them. And so when that day came and we had bad news online and everybody's sort of trying to understand and get a crystal ball in terms of what's going to move on from here, we were able to reach out to landlords and request rent abatement, deferred rent, try to find solutions for our clients in the sense of getting a little bit of rent relief during this time. Everybody seems to quickly forget that during those unique times, the landlord is also a person and he has a family that he needs to provide for. And he has a lender that he has to pay to just like we do. And so a lot of times, instead of putting up these walls, but rather having healthy conversations about truly where your business sits, these are what the city and the state is governing. This is what the ADA and the TDA is saying is available in terms of dental practices and procedures that we're allowed to perform. We need to have that communication with the landlord. We're very involved on that front. We're happy to step in. We have relationships with these landlords, and landlords at the end of the day, they're invested in you being successful. And so have conversations. If you have a real estate broker, get them involved. get a real estate broker that understands the dental community, though. They understand when you're open, when you can't be open. They understand what the city is determining when you're allowed to practice and when you're not. They understand that because you have emergency services open, and your lights are on in your building, it doesn't mean you're making money, because emergency services typically are not very profitable for a standard dental clinic. And so having those conversations with landlords is fruitful and helpful. And so I would encourage you, doctors that are in existing clinics, to take the time when we have those rainy days to engage a dental specific broker that understands what they're doing. From a growth standpoint, and just sort of an overlay of the real estate community in DFW in particular, everything is a full send right now. We saw very little dip in terms of investment from outside developers. There's still a lot of retail strips that are going up, a lot of homes that are being built, apartments coming into play, businesses that are moving here. It really did not miss much of a beat on that front. All that basically translate to opportunities for dentists to come into some of these new communities and move in on these patients that are basically being underserved. And so from a real estate standpoint, like I said, we've really seen a lot of positive momentum. We're very thankful for that. Dallas is very diversified from an industry standpoint. It has oil, IT, real estate, manufacturing. And so even though some areas absolutely took a dip, in the restaurant community, for example, the dental community has been very, very strong. And we've seen a lot of opportunities that come forth because landlords are looking to diversify their real estate portfolio. If they had a retail strip full of restaurant users and four or five of those guys went out, they're wanting to bring in a medical tenant to help diversify that portfolio and sort of mitigate some of the risk. So just for a couple of guys that are looking to maybe grow at the time, it is a very good time to do it. You guys hold a lot of leverage in the market right now because of the ability to diversify a landlord's real estate portfolio. And that's, Josh, appreciate you having me on today. I feel like that covers most of I wanted to touch on a high level. I'd really encourage anybody to follow up with me. If you have any questions, like I said, I'm happy to speak directly to you about your unique situation and see if we can bring value from that standpoint.
Thanks a lot, Brennan. I mean, as always, just great information, and I really appreciate the way you deliver it. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.